Excellent. I'm going to pin myself. Hello, everybody. Now that I've started the recording, this is the second month of our mix and match modern crochet blanket club. Today, I'm going to demonstrate 4 stitches. I'm going to demonstrate the Alpine stitch, which is number 10 in the book, Catherine wheel, which is number 11, the Sedge stitch, which is number 12, and by request, loopy loops, which is number 20. So I'll do that one at the end. I'm going to show you the Alpine stitch first. Where is my Alpine stitch? Oh, here it is. I really liked this stitch. It made a really nice, I think you can see the texture on it. It makes a beautiful texture. You'll notice, because you guys all have the eagle eyes, I have a little mistake in mine right here. There's a little line that runs through that you can see, and I'm going to show you how to avoid that because I noticed it when I was about up here and I wasn't going to go back. Right. It didn't bother me that much, but I'm going to show you how to avoid it as we make this stitch. I really liked it. She does call it a hypnotic stitch, and I will agree because after the first couple repeats, I didn't need to look at the pattern anymore. Okay. So let me share my camera here. And let me rotate. So my left hand looks like my left hand. All right. So I did write some notes down here. And I'm going to show it on bigger yarn as well, because that's just easier to see. I'm going to make the stitches. Oh, that color shows up. Okay. So we had talked last week about using, every strip will start with either a row of single crochets, a row of chain and a row of single crochet, or if you choose, you can do a row of foundation single crochet. So I'm going to be doing the foundation single crochet. Blair. Oh, there we go. What she does tell you at the beginning of every pattern, she tells you what the multiples of this pattern are. So if you're going to follow her chart, which is approximately 30-ish stitches, it depends on the particular stitch, because some stitches need to have a certain number of stitches, but it's approximately 30. You can follow her repeats just as is. I'm making a smaller blanket and I'm only doing a few repeats for each stitch. So I believe I only did, for this one, I did 3 repeats across. But it does make a really nice kind of texture stitch. And I don't think the picture shows as well what a nice stitch that can be. Okay, it's got some nice, not too stretchy, but it has some nice give to it. All right. If you are choosing to do the foundation single crochet, anytime you see what her multiples are. So for this one, it is a multiple of 2 stitches plus 2 more. You need to reduce the plus number by 1 if you're going to be doing the foundation single crochet, because there is no chain you're going to skip to make your first row of single. And one of these stitches is part of that. Okay. Not every stitch is a plus 2. Some of them, like the Catherine wheel, is a plus 10. So when I do it in foundation single crochet, it'll be a plus 9. So you just need to reduce the plus part by 1 stitch if you're going to do foundation single crochet. Okay. And I will remind you of that as we do each of these stitches. So for this one, I'm just going to do, let's see, 2, 4, we'll do 6 plus one more. I'm going to do 7 stitches. I'm going to do a foundation. And I did have a link to the foundation single crochet video on last month. Every foundation starts with chain 2, go into the first chain, chain 1, that makes the bottom chain, yarn over, pull through both, that's the single on top of it. So I have made 1 chain and 1 single on top of it. And then I go, I'm going to turn it to the side. I'm going to go into the chain that I made, chain 1, and I put my thumb right there so I know that that's where I'm going to go back into. And I'm just going to do 7 stitches so we can do a quick repeat on this stitch. Chain 1, pull through. Chain 1, pull through both. The video I linked to is a Tony Lipsy video, and I think she does a great job. She shows it for single, half double, and double. The concept is the same, it's just the yarn overs you use are different. Let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more. 7. All right. Chain 1, yarn through. Okay, so because now I've done my row of chain and my row of single, I am now starting on row 2. Row 1 is the single crochet all the way across. So row 2 tells me chain 2 and that it does not count as a stitch throughout this particular stitch pattern. So I know I won't be making any stitches into the top of a chain 2. I like to chain before I turn. It's just a personal preference. You can turn and then chain, or chain and then turn. And then I'm going to do 1 double crochet all the way across in each stitch all the way across. So I will end up with 7 double crochets. And okay, that's the end of row 2. The next row starts our repeat. This whole strip is a repeat of rows 3 through 6. Okay, so rows 1 and 2 are kind of our setup rows. Okay, so now onto row 3, chain 1. It also does not count as a stitch in this particular pattern. I'm going to do a single all the way across. I will tell you now, row 3 and row 5 are wrong side rows, and they are always single crochet all the way across, which is one of the reasons I really makes this pattern fairly easy. You know, if you're on the wrong side, and right now you can't really tell because we haven't started the Alpine, it's always going to be a single going back. Row 4 is a chain 2 and turn. I'm going to do 1 double, 1 double. If you are at the point where, and I will do this on other stitches, on other patterns that I show you tonight, since I know I won't be going into the top of the chain 2, I like to mark my first stitch in a row, because that will 99.9% of the time be where I finish the following row. So I could have one here in the single at this end. If you're newer to the crochet stitches and you have a hard time recognizing where to stop, or you end up with projects that go like this or like this, marking your first stitch of every row can be very helpful. So I've done the chain 2 and I've done 1 double. The next step is to do a 1 FPTR, which means a front post treble crochet stitch. Okay, I'm going to show it to you first, and then I'm going to explain how it works. A post stitch, a front post stitch, means that we're going to be going not into the top of a stitch, but we're going to be going into the post of a stitch, which is the body of the stitch underneath it. For the treble crochet, we're going to be going into not the row of singles we just did, not around that post, but around the post of the double crochet we did 2 rows below. If you look ahead, it says to do 1 front post treble crochet and then 1 double crochet all the way across. So a treble crochet is taller than a double. If we were to do them next to each other, we would have a very jagged edge. But here's how this works. So I've done 1 double crochet. I'm going to, instead of going into the top of the next stitch, I'm going to go to the double crochet below it, and that's the post I'm going to go around to make my stitch. Now, if you look at this post, this is how I got that line. And I did say I was going to show it to you and then explain it, and here I am explaining it first. The post has these little bars across it right here. You want to go to the base of the post. Where I've just put this crochet hook is where I'm going to enter the stitch and make my stitch around. So a treble starts with 2 yarn overs. I'm going to go underneath that post, yarn over, and pull through. Now it's just like finishing a regular triple crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And what you get is a very tall stitch like this. And the next stitch is a double crochet, which we're going to make in the, just as we usually do. But I don't want to make it, I need to skip the single that I've kind of covered up back here. So you're going to, after you get this first row done, it's going to be a lot easier for you to see. All right, so we're going to do, this one goes there. We're skipping that one. We're going in here. Because these will line up. So now I'm going to make another front post treble. And I'm going to slow it down here in just a second. And then make another double. And if I've done this correctly, because I'm supposed to do this all the way to the end, I should have 2 stitches left. And it looks like I do. So now I'm going to make a front post treble, which is going to be this one right here, because this double is on top of this double. So I want to, they're going to alternate. Go behind. And so front post means that we are keeping everything to the front of the work. We're pulling the stitch to the front of the, the front of the work. And then 1 double in the last stitch, which is right where my marker is. All right, so what you get is you've got these, it kind of takes this double and extends it up. So it looks like, this is often how you make ribbing in crochet, because it's got that, what looks like a knit and then a purl, a knit and a purl if you're a knitter. Okay. All right, I'm going to take out my beginning. I happen to know that row 5 is to chain 1 and single crochet all the way back because it's a wrong side row. So I should still have 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I've marked my last, the first stitch, which becomes my last stitch of this row. All right. Row 6 starts with a chain 2. And now I'm going to be doing the same thing, but it's going to be offset a little. So this time I'm going to do 2 double crochets first. So 1 double in the first stitch, and I could mark it. 1 double in the next stitch. And then I start my repeat, which on row 6 is a front post treble and a double. So my front post treble won't be here, it will be here. It will be on the double I made on row 4. So it's going to alternate, and then make a double in, I'm looking behind to make sure I'm not going into the same stitch, in the next stitch. Front post treble, and I'm making sure I'm going around the base and not up here at the top of that double, because that's how I got that line in my work. Whoop. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. That's why they call it a treble. It's got 3 yarn overs. This stitch ends with an extra double crochet at the end. So here's the double crochet for my repeat and a double crochet in the last stitch. That's the whole repeat. So then I would start back with row 3, which I'm going to do, and go through row 6. So you get this little wonky space right here when you finish row 6, which is your tell that you're ready to restart your repeat. So when you've done just the first, when you've done row 4, you've just got 1 double crochet and then your front post treble. When you do row 6, you start with 2, and it leaves this little blank space for the next repeat. So she then tells you that to repeat rows 3 through 6, finishing on any row until the strip is your required length. I recommend not finishing on that. I think it looks weird. If I were to stop right there, you have this big empty kind of space right there that I want to put something in. I think it looks better if you were to finish after this row. Okay, just keep that in mind if you decide to do this stitch. I'm just going to do one more. I'm going to do rows 3 and 4 so you can see how it continues on. 3 is going to be a single all the way across, chain 1 and single. And then chain 2 and turn. And because I've got that big empty space, I know I'm going to be repeating this up here. So this one is going to start to line up. So I'm going to make 1 double to start, and then my repeat. Front post treble around the base. And then a double. And once you've got these first couple rows done, it's pretty easy to see that you're putting it in the right place because you're alternating where those front posts go. And then a double. And then a front post. And then a double in my last stitch. So I am making this strip in my blanket. So I will make sure that I finish with this part of the repeat. It just looks more balanced to me instead of having like this big open space here. So let me pull over my, are there any questions about this stitch and how to do a front post? It's got a lot of texture to it. It's squishy. So you can see the this is where I went into not the base of a double. I went into the top of the double and it left this little line. So that will be my little signature in my blanket because I'm not pulling that sucker out. But it is a nice, it's a nice easy stitch. Are there any questions about that one? Okay, good. I'm going to move. Let me make sure I told you everything I wanted to do. Wrong sides are always single crochets. Yep, that's good. All right, so let's move. We're going to skip Catherine Wheel till the end. Let's do number 12, the Sedge Stitch. So I'm going to actually reuse this because this one is a multiple. This is number 12 is a repeat of 3 stitches plus 2. But since I'm doing a foundation, it's a multiple of 3 plus 1, which happens to also be 7. So I can still use my same foundation row here. Again, you can do any, and on this one, I'm going to show you, I want to show you how the chart works too, in case you're confused by charts. I'm going to throw them in when I can. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 stitches. Okay. This makes a really nice puffy texture. Your repeat on this is only going to be 1 row. After you do your setup, it's just 1 row. So I've already done row 1, which is the single, and I'm moving on to row 2, which is my wrong side. In this pattern, the chain 2 counts as a stitch, which is a signal that I'm going to have to put a stitch into the top of a chain 2. So you could mark it either after you make your first stitch or right now. I'm putting a marker in the top of that chain 2, in the second chain that I just made. And then I usually do it after because I feel like the marker gets in my way, but that's up to you. 2 double crochets in the first stitch. 1. Got too many yarn overs. 1, 2. All right, so I've got a chain 2 and 2 double crochets coming out of that space. I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches. So if you're having trouble seeing, look at it from the top. So I'm going to skip this one and the next one. And in the third space, I'm going to put a single and 2 doubles. So a single, no chaining in between, a single and 2 doubles all into that space. 1, 2. So a short stitch and 2 tall stitches. It's going to force your piece to start to curve a little. That's totally normal. I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. 1, 2. And I'm going to put, let's see, skip the next 2 stitches and repeat. So a single and 2 doubles, and then skip the next 2 stitches. So this was something that came up this morning. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. 1, 2. Let me just double check my stitch count here, because what you have to remember on this particular stitch is that skipping the stitches is part of the repeat. It happens to be at the end of the repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's correct. Okay. All right, so skip 2, 1, 2, single and 2 doubles, skip 2. I finished my for the number of chains that I had. That's the end of my repeat. because skipping 2 is part of the repeat, and I put a single in the last stitch. You would continue on until you had 3 spaces left, because the last 2 are part of the repeat and 1 single in the end. Can I tell you how many? We messed around with that this morning. Like, it worked out when I did my sample. Why isn't it working? Because the skipping the stitches is part of the repeat. Okay, that's the end of row 2. Excuse me, row 3, chain 2. I know it's going to be, it counts as a stitch. Do 2 double crochets in the first stitch. So when I am marking my chain space, this is generally when I do it. I make my first double, and then I find the top of that double I just made, which is right below my hook. And then the chain right below that is the top of the chain 2. That's how I usually do it. I put my second double in that space. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2. And you're going to put a single and a double and 2 doubles in the next. Where you're putting the single and the double is where you put the single and the double the last time. What it does is it pulls it the other direction. So it should be kind of a little bit of a dip, because here's a double, here's a double, here's a single from when we did it on this side. So I'm going to go into that little dip stitch, which is small. And I didn't say what you think I said. I said dipped stitch. In that space, a single and 2 doubles. And repeat to the last stitch. Put 1 single in the top of the chain 2. So I have 2 stitches left. I'm sorry, 1 stitch left. And I put my single in the top of the chain 2. And then that's the row I repeat all the way across. Your repeat is just row 3. Chain 2, 2 doubles. Very easy to remember. Skip 2, single, 2 doubles, all the way across. Skip 2, single in the top of the chain 2. So it looked like with only, you get like these little alternating, and the picture in this one shows up pretty good. It makes a very nice reversible stitch, which is nice. It's a very nice, it's really squishy. The little single and 2 doubles make a really nice little puff to it. It's not too holey. It really kind of fills in pretty nicely, and it makes a really nice stitch. So I cut mine off just because I wanted to get through the rest of the stitches, but I am strongly considering making a strip out of this because it was very meditative, because it's 1 row. That's it. I mean, it's one thing you have to repeat all the way across. So one side, it's almost reversible all the way around. It's a really pretty stitch. Are there any questions about Sedge Stitch? Okay. That one was pretty easy. This Catherine's wheel. I've done this before. I've done it as a blanket. It's so pretty. I love circular objects. I think when you've got a square shape, I love putting circles and dots and things, or swirls.
What number is that one, please?
Number 11.
Oh, 11, we're going back. Okay,
Number
yeah.
11. I'm going to
Okay,
zoom out
okay.
here just a little.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for reminding me, because I don't
I wasn't sure we were going to the balloon one or whatever it's called.
The loopy loops we're going to do. But this is a Catherine wheel, and it looks so pretty. This stitch has been around a long time. Catherine wheel is the name of a firework. It's a big circular firework, and that's what it looks like. It's got a center, and then it's got double crochets that come out all the way around it. I've also, when I started making it, I'm going to put my little swatch next to it. It does not look like hers at all. Mine is very gappy, and I kept thinking, what am I doing wrong? I changed my hook size. I'm getting the centers, but the wheels are not coming together and closing up the way I remembered that they could. So I did a little research and found that, oh, there are actually several ways that you can make a Catherine wheel. And designers do it different ways. It actually started out pretty good, but I didn't like it. It was too gappy. So we talked about it in class this morning, and I did it on the bigger yarn. And here's where we started. Oh, and it looked much better. We had a little bit of gap here, but oh, these wheels looked so much better. And then I started the next part of the repeat, and again, I was getting these gaps. So here's what I discovered. In this pattern, I'm going to take it back. I'm still going to demonstrate how to do the pattern, but I think I have found a fix for the pattern. And if indeed, but I got busy and I didn't get a chance to actually test the fix. If it works, I'm going to type it up and I'm going to put it on the website so that you'll have it if this is a strip you would want to do, because it is actually a strip that I would like to do. So I'm just going to take back this row. What is making those gaps is that there are places where you make a chain 3 like this, okay? And then you make the next part of the wheel, but the chain 3 leaves a gap that doesn't seem to close up. Apparently this is a common issue. What I found, and this is from a free website, and I found it on several patterns, is a Catherine wheel that looks like this, which is more in keeping as what I remembered making. And what she does, instead of making that chain 3, which leaves a gap, is she does 3 single crochets across to close, to keep the gap from forming. Now she's alternated colors. You could do this in one color, but the wheels are nice and closed, and there's no gaps. And I did, or I should say fewer gaps. So I did follow that pattern, and I was much happier with my wheels. Now I didn't finish the repeat, so these will get closed up. So I think that's what's going to work. I'm going to show you how it works. I've got a little fix I want to try. And if it works, I'm going to type it up and put it as a PDF on the website with the recording of this video, so you'll have access to it. Okay. So here's how the old Catherine wheel works. Let's get all my little pieces and parts here out of the way. So the Catherine wheel is a multiple of 8 plus 10 for her pattern. Other patterns I looked at were similar. All of the wheels are made out of 7 double crochets. That was a common theme. But what goes in between the wheels is what changed the stitch count just a little bit. So I will make sure I include all of that information on any sort of update. So let's make multiples of 8. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rip this one out because that's already got the right number of stitches. And then we'll be good to go. I knew I had a plan. I wanted to show it to you and then rip it out. So it looks all nice and fine when you start, and then those gaps showed up. So I'm going to take it back to the foundation single crochet, and I believe I did 20. Let's find out how many I did. I believe I did 20. 8, 16 plus 9 is what I think I did. I think I did 20. Let's find out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was 17. I did. Oh, no wonder that didn't. Multiples of 8 plus 9. Maybe I started over. 1, 2, 3. 6. Oh, I did one repeat. That's what I did. I just did one repeat of 8 plus 9 is what I did, just so I could work across the row quickly. Okay. So I'm only doing one repeat. Okay, so I'm starting on row 2 because row 1 is incorporated into my foundation single crochet. I am going to do a chain 2, and she says it counts as a first double crochet throughout. Hold on, yarn everywhere here. All right. So we're going to do chain 2 and turn. I'm going to do 3 double crochets into the first stitch. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to mark the top of that chain 2. So here's how I do that. There's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, and right beneath that is the chain, which is the top of the chain 2. Okay. Then, okay, 3 double crochet in the first stitch. Skip 3 stitches and do a single crochet. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3 and do a single crochet. So it's pulling. So you start with part of a wheel. You do a full wheel in the center, a bunch of full wheels in the center, and then you do part of a wheel at the end. That's how this begins. Okay. Single crochet, skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and put 7 double crochets in the next stitch. So I skip 1, 2, 3, 7 double crochets. 1. And when you're doing the 7 double crochets into 1 stitch, you are making the top of a wheel. Let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and put a single. So that kind of pulls the sides down. And then my repeat is to start again with skipping 3 stitches and doing 7 double crochets in the next stitch. And I'm going to do that to the last 4 stitches, which, because I'm only doing 1 repeat, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. So I'm already there. The last 4 stitches, I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and put 4 doubles in the last stitch. So she says in the beginning that a double crochet counts as the chain 2, excuse me, counts as a double, the first double crochet throughout, which means that this is very symmetrical because we had a chain 2 and 3 doubles is the same thing as 4 doubles in the end. So your ends are half wheels or partial wheels, with a full wheel in the center. Okay, that's the end of row 2. Everything's good and dandy still. Row 3, chain 1, does not count as a stitch throughout this particular stitch. 1 single in the first stitch. I'm sorry, 1 single in the first stitch, and my repeat starts chain 3, and then put, it says DC 7 together, which means I'm going to double crochet 7 stitches together, which is how you make the bottom part of a wheel. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to make the next 7 stitches are going to come together into 1. Here's how you do 7 double crochet together. Find your next stitch, yarn over, go into the stitch, grab your yarn and pull up. You've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 of the loops. That's the first one. That's 1. Here's 2, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's 2 of them. Yarn over, pull up, and then yarn over, pull through 2. So you're only doing the first part of each of these double crochets. You'll know when you're done. If I'm doing 7 together, I will end up with a total of 8 loops on my hook, and then I know I'm done. So you can count as you go, but if you're not quite sure, you can count your loops. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to do 1 more. Because remember, we start with a loop on our hook. That's the 8th one. So when you've got your 8 loops, then you yarn over and you finish them all together as 1. Okay? That's 7 DC 7 together over the next 7 stitches, and then chain 3. This is where the gapping comes in. Okay, so you can make this chain 3. I'm going to make it here. And then we're going to go across and we're going to pull this way. And this chain 3 makes a gap. I'm going to take it back because I found a way. Let me go back to where I just had my 7 double crochet together. If you were to, after you've done a 7 double crochet together, if I do just a chain 1, and then if I slip stitch into the side, I'm going to zoom in a little. Instead of doing a chain 3, slip stitch into the side of the last double I put together, which means I go in and pull it through. And then to do another slip stitch into the base of where that double, in the same spot where that last double was. It gives me the 3 stitches I need, but it closes the gap. I don't do it on the chain 3 over here. It's only following the double crochet together. So if this works, this is what I'm going to write up and have you add to your pattern. All right. So instead of chaining 3, I did that little fix, and then I'm going to do 1 single in the next stitch, which happens to be the top of the center stitch of the next wheel. And put 1 single on the top, and then I repeat chain 3. And since I didn't just do it together, I'm fine doing it. Do 7 double crochet together, yarn over, and here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I should have 8 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then yarn over and finish them all off. And when I'm trying to pull that through all 8 of those loops, yarn over, and I kind of pull to open up, turn my hook, and it should just slide through. If it doesn't just slide through, you can do it. I'm going to push it back. You can do them one at a time. So let's get this back here. Let me show you how that works. So I could yarn over and pull through one, the next. Just don't continue to yarn over. You could do them one at a time, just like this. Okay. There you go. If you're particularly tight, that might be an easier way to do it. So instead of doing what the pattern says to do, another chain 3 and a single in the next stitch to finish my repeat, I'm going to do that little technique again, which is to chain 1, slip stitch into the side of this last double. Slip stitch is just, there's no height to it. You're going, and then I go into the base of the double where the last one came out of, and you're just pulling it all the way through with no yarn overs, and then single into my last stitch, which I have marked, which was the top of a chain 2. I'm very glad that I marked it because I might have forgotten in all of my frustration with this early on that it counts. So already the gapping is reduced in this little spot. Okay. I'm liking it so far. Row 4, chain 1. Still doesn't count as a stitch. Single crochet in the first stitch. So I know that's going to be the stitch I go into. Right there. Skip the chain 3. So instead of skipping, because I don't have a chain 3, I'm going to skip 3 stitches. This was a slip stitch, and a chain 1. So that's the 3. And then it wants me to do 7 double crochets in the top center of where I did that 7 double crochet together. I'm just going to adjust this just for, there we go. So the center where they all came together is where I'm going to put 7 double crochets. Okay. So now I'm making the top half of a wheel again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That already looks much nicer than the gappy thing I had over here. Okay, so 7 double crochets in the top. Skip the next chain 3, which is actually a chain 3 here. And we're going to, I keep messing up which row I'm on. Oh, here we go. Skip the chain 3 and do 1 single in the next stitch, which is the top of the single from the previous row. Okay, and that pulls that down nicely. Definitely closes up that gap. And my repeat is to skip the chain 3, which in this case is 3 stitches, and to put 7 in the top of that center that we did together on the previous row. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you do need to make sure you've got 7, because eventually you're going to be using the tops of these to do 7 together. So you do want to make sure if you do a row across and it's not working out, I would say in this particular pattern, 9 times out of 10, it's because of something that happened on a previous row. So make sure that you've got your 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then I'm going to skip the chain 3 and I'm going to do a single in the top of that next stitch. That already looks better to me than the gappiness I was getting here.
Hmm.
So far I kind of like that. That was
You can really see the circle of it then.
and it brought I'm going to darken this up just a little. There's so much glare right here. Yes, it definitely makes the circles much more together where I was not, they seem to be offset here. And it's because that chain 3 was leaving such a gap, it wasn't allowing it to pull down. By doing that slip stitch, it closes up the gaps and brings the circles together.
Because those that you had there look almost like shells instead.
Exactly, which I did not like.
Yeah.
Did not like that. Okay, so let me just finish the last 2 rows of this repeat. Chain 2. And then I'm going to double crochet 3 together over the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then pull it all the way through. And then I'm going to chain 3 and do 1 single in the next stitch, which is, if you have trouble, if you've got it pulled open like this, working across, it can be hard to see where the next stitch is. I found that if I turned it more upright, here was the last double crochet I made, doing it together, and it's coming out of this space. So my single is going to go right here into the next stitch. When you've got it pulled apart, because you're holding it and you're going like this, everything's going a different direction. I find often that if I just straighten it up, it helps me see my stitches much better. So my single is going to go right into that space right there. I think that's a true statement for most any crochet pattern, that if you just straighten it up and don't have it pulled together, then that will work. Okay, let's see here. 1 single in the next stitch, chain 3. Oh, you know what? I did it together and I didn't want to do a chain 3 after a doing together. I want to do a chain 1. That's what closes this gap. Slip stitch into the side of that double and into the base of that double, and then single in the next stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3 because I didn't just do a together stitch. And I'm going to do 7 double crochet together, which is going to bring these in for the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see if I didn't have the right number on the previous row, I wouldn't end up with the right number of stitches at the end of this. I should have 8 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 more. And pull it through to finish. I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the side of that last double crochet and slip stitch again into the base of that double. And then I'm going to do 1 single in the next stitch. You're going to do this all the way across to the last 4 stitches. Please, God, let me have 4 stitches. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 stitches. So let's figure out what I missed. But I do like the way that closes up very nicely. So let's make sure. I'm just going to pull that back. Did I have 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did have 7. That was the single would go there. for the last 4 stitches. So I need it to end 1, 2, 3, 4. My single needs to be there. So let's figure out what I did wrong. I should have the same number of stitches that I started with. So I'm just going to pull this row back and let's make sure I've got the right number of stitches. 1, 2, let's make sure I've got 7 doubles here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This was a multiple of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I must have put something in the wrong space because I do have the right number of stitches. Okay, so let's try this again. That's how I would check. I do have the right number of stitches. It must have been where I placed stitches. So I'm going to do chain 2, 3 double crochet together over the next 3 stitches. You know what? This is an excellent place to look at the chart. To make sure I'm doing the stitch as she says. So what my head is wondering is if I should start the double crochet 3 together here, or is this counting as a double crochet and I should start it here? And the answer to my question is going to be in the chart because it's going to show me where things are connected. Okay, so we haven't looked at a chart yet. This so it starts down here at the bottom with the row of chains and then a row of singles. The little circle here on the side is the chain that we skipped if you were doing chains and then a row of single. Okay. Here was the first row. We did the chain 2 and we worked across. So that would have been row 2. And then we would have done row 3 going back. These lines are telling us that's row 1. The black line is row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. So I started with a chain 2 and I should have, I'm going to go into the top of the first. What I love about crochet charts is they look like your work. So the top of the first double crochet is here. And I started my together stitch here and I shouldn't have. And that's why I was 1 stitch off. And I can tell that because right here is the chain 2. And then I do the 3 together, the 3 double crochets together. 1, 2, 3 coming into 1 stitch. The first one is connected to the top of this double crochet. It is not connected underneath the chain. So I need to skip that spot, which I did not do before. So charts can be really helpful that way. And that they show you, crochet charts show you how stitches are connected to each other. And I will continue to show you that as we work through this book. So let's try this again. See if I can get it right this time. Okay. So I'm going to double crochet 3 together. I'm going to not go into my top of my chain here. 1, 2, 3. And pull through. And then I'm going to, instead of doing a chain 3, slip stitch. Oh, I didn't need to do a chain 1 first. Sorry. Chain 1, slip stitch, and slip stitch. And then a chain 1, which puts me at the top of the wheel. I'm sorry, single crochet, which puts me at the top of the wheel. And then I do a chain 3 and 7 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on. 5. Try it one more time. 5, 6, 7. Should have 8 loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yarn over and pull through them all. Chain 1, slip stitch, slip stitch. Should have 4 stitches left. Oh no, and then do a single in the next stitch. And then I should have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, thank God. Okay, so then double crochet 4 together over the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and my 4th one I've marked, so I know I'm in the right spot. Right? I'm already liking this much better.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the last row, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the top of the 4 together, which is right here underneath this chain. So you're almost going into the exact same space. You are going into the exact same space. And you're putting 3 double crochets. And since that chain 2 counted as a stitch, it acts as the 4th. 2, 3, 4. So it's going to look like that. Now these sides might look a little wonky, but they will, there's a lot of give to it where it pulls in. So when it comes to seaming, it straightens up very nicely. It already has straightened up on this side, so don't let that throw you off. Okay. 3 double crochets in the top. Skip the chain 3. In this case, I'm skipping the slip stitches, and I'm going to put 7 double crochets in the top of this center space. To make the top of this wheel. 1. And that gap will fill up as I add more double, whoops, not double crochet togethers. Oh, I forgot a chain. I bet I forgot a single. Skip the chain 3, 1 single in the next stitch. I apologize. So skip my chain 3 and 1 single right here. And then I put 7 in the top. That's much better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Skip the chain 3, which is an actual chain 3 here, 1 single in the next. Pulls it down nicely. Skip the chain 3, skip the chain 3 and repeat to the last stitch and do 4 double crochets in the top of here. One, 2, 3, 4. So that's a complete repeat through row 6. Your repeat is rows 3 through 6. Rows 1 and 2 are your setup. And then I like that much better than the gappiness of this one. So what I will do is I will retype these directions with the adjustment, and then you can have the choice. I will also put a link to doing it this way. And she has a video, it's a free video that she does, and she puts a chain 3 single crochets in between each of them. I only did one part of the repeat, so I didn't get a good sense, but I will put that link in case you want to do something like that. I do love the circular idea, although I think that it turned out quite nice. Any questions about this crazy Catherine's wheel?
Probably when I try it.
Yes, right. And you know what?
But it does look good, and I'm glad to
Come
see it
back to the
finished.
video. You'll look at the notes. If you're having trouble and you're not local, please send me an email and let's hop on Zoom together, because I'm happy to show you this anytime. Or let me see what you're doing and see if we can figure it out. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Let me show you these crazy loopy loops. So I did them on my yarn. What the loopy loops do, and this is number 20 that Elfrida had requested. I know she's not here, but she's going to watch the video. And I told her I would demonstrate it. Is it puts a loop locked. These are not loops added at the end. These are loops locked into your stitch. I don't know that I would want this on my blanket, but if I was making a pillow, this might be kind of cool. If I was doing a crocheted bag, this might be really cool edging across the top. So her pattern has you putting them 4 stitches apart. I'm going to demonstrate it doing it every stitch because it really doesn't matter. It's just single, I believe it's single crochets. I'm going to get over there. This is number 20, loopy loops. What's the hard part about this is how to hold your hands. Okay. So I'm going to, let's take this little piece out. I'll work on this. Okay, so this is a multiple of 6 plus 4, or in my case, 6 plus 3, which is 9. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The nice thing about the foundation single crochet is I can just add 2 more here. To get the multiple correct. That's 8. Now that's if you're going to do, you'll see as we do this, if you're going to put 4 stitches in between each of your loopy loops. All right, so starting on row 2, chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And I'm going to do 1 single crochet. And then she's got me doing 4 single crochet, so I'll do it the way she does it first. 3, 4. And here you make loop stitch in the next stitch. Here's how you do the loop stitch. And she's got it written out. She says to wrap your yarn over your index finger to make a loop. Insert your hook into the specified stitch. Take the hook over the top of the yarn or the front finger. It's a lot of words. Let me show you. First of all, what index finger is she talking about? Your right or your left? Your hook hand or your yarn hand? It's your yarn hand, okay? I always have my yarn coming over the top of my index finger. That's just how I crochet. Let me zoom out just a little. Okay, but how far this is what's going to determine the length of your loop, okay? So if you want it further or shorter, you can bring it in. I'm just going to, for ease, put it where I usually put it. All right. When you've got this yarn coming over your index finger, you have the strand or the front leg, and then you have the back leg that's coming across the back of your index finger. you're going to need to use both strands. Okay. Insert your hook into the stitch first, where you're going to put your loop. We're going to yarn under the first leg. So if I were to yarn over, it would come over the back of the hook. Yarning under is the opposite. Okay. Now I'm going to yarn over with the back strand, which essentially means is I'm grabbing it. Let me turn my hand here with my hook and yarning over, and I'm pulling it back through the stitch so that I have 2 loops. I'm going to do it again. Don't worry. At this point, I can let the loop go and finish that single crochet. Let me show you again. What you've done is you're making the loop on the wrong side. It shows up on the right side. Okay. So you enter the stitch. I'm going to yarn under the first strand. I'm going to open up my hand, yarn over. I'm just grabbing it with the back strand and pulling it back through the stitch. Letting go of the loop, yarn over and finish. I'm going to do it again. Enter the stitch. That held me up for a while, forgetting to enter the stitch. Yarn under, yarn over, and pull it back through. Yarn over, pull through both. I'm going to do one more, and then I'll turn around and we'll do it again. Enter the stitch, yarn under, yarn over, pull it through. You can hold on to the loop if you want to and finish your stitch, and then let go of the loop. When I turn it around, I'm just going to chain 1 and turn and do a row of singles in a minute. But you've got these loops that are locked into the stitch. They're not going to come out. You could cut them and make fringe if you wanted to. I'm going to just do some singles across. So now I'm not even looking at her pattern because I just wanted to show you the technique of the loops. You can, she's got them 4 stitches apart. You could do them every stitch if you wanted to. Like I said, I don't know that I want to put it in my blanket. But I think I would like to do it on something because it's very cool. Just remember that you are making the stitch on the wrong side. The loop shows up when you turn it over. Okay. So this time I'm going to do it all the way across. And enter the stitch. Yarn under. So that's a yarn under. Yarn over. Pull it back through. Let go of the loop. Or hold it, either way, and finish the stitch. Enter the stitch. You're going to want to yarn over because that's what we always do. Yarn under. Then yarn over with that back loop. Bring it through. Yarn over, pull through. I got to tell you, I got quite the rhythm going, and it was a little addictive, which I hated because I thought the stitch would be really annoying. Yarn under, yarn over, pull through, finish the stitch. Now I'm about to run out of yarn. Are there questions about loopy loop? Everybody wants to make loopy loops, I can tell.
Like fun, but I think you're right. Cutting it for fringe would also be another way of
I
doing
think it would be really cute to make it as like the edging around a pillow would be really cute. You could do it on the first row. You could do it on the first stitch, you know, if you wanted to frame it that way, or across the top and the bottom. I also think it would be really cute, like along the bottom of a little girl's dress. You could do a few rows and it would look like, you know, ruffly things.
Or the flap on the purse, like you said, and
On
have
the flap of a
have the
purse. I think that
fringe.
would be
Yeah.
really pretty too. So a fun stitch to know. I like that you don't have to add them afterwards, and I like that they're locked in. you could twist them and make little, I don't know, you could do all sorts of things. You could put beads on them. Good grief. The
Very cute.
possibilities are endless.
Mhm.
But the key things to know about this is you're making the stitch on the wrong side. And you are also, it's the if you're left-handed and you're holding the yarn in your right hand, it's whatever hand you hold the yarn in that you're making the loop on, which isn't clear in her directions. She just says over your index finger. Well, which one?
Mhm.
I've got two. And you're using both. So I did find a couple of videos on making these loops. And I'm happy to link to one. I'll put a link in there that showed it probably a little clearer than I did. But once I got the hang of the yarn under, yarn over step, then it was pretty easy.
Just practice.
Yeah, and it takes practice.
Nice.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Because we went a little bit over tonight, but we had a little extra. That Catherine wheel really threw me. I should not have saved it for last. I thought it was going to be a breeze because I'd done it before. I was not expecting it to be so different. I'm going to stop the recording.